Hi everyone, it's Aisha here from God FM, and I want to talk today about, the gang stalking actually and the operations of it, but also just some of the things on my mind. Today's the 27th of July 2026, and I for one can't believe I live in a world where this kind of activity takes place. The police turn a blind eye, and anybody who's a victim of it is made out to be a crazy person. It's the worst crime I've ever encountered, and until you've experienced it firsthand, it's unbelievable. It really is an unbelievable crime committed against innocent people. So coordinated. And I can't believe the resources that the people have to conduct their crimes and the extent. So today I was on TikTok, and there was a lady talking about the social services in England, and the United Nations are getting involved because of the corruption with social services, because people's children are being taken from them, illegally, really, there's corruption, very bad corruption within that sector of the UK government. So we know that there's corruption within the government of the UK, and this obviously stretches far and wide across the world. The targeting of people seems to be a worldwide phenomenon. And today I want to lay out the very basics of it for those people who don't know what it is as well. So it starts off with things like conversations being repeated in the public domain, and people will seem to know your business. People you don't really know very well. They'll be very familiar. They might repeat a conversation, or they might discuss something that you've only recently spoken to someone about, asking advice, or even one where you've been to the shop and you've returned an item, and they'll discuss that item just sort of randomly. If you can't afford your car insurance, they might randomly discuss that they can't afford their car insurance. Or if your car's about to be clamped, they might talk about parking or something. Because this is highly coordinated, and it's not just a coincidence. So every action that they do, they like to make you aware. This is what I found, because they're very proud of what they're doing. They do like to make you aware that they're doing it. And from my perspective, this is a failing in their system anyway, because all this does is it makes me aware of who's conducting it. And what else is there? I mean, there's so many other things that I have found. Things like your windscreen wipers will be swapped for brittle ones on your car. Your battery will never work. They'll swap batteries. They will mess with your vehicles. They'll swap all the internal parts of your vehicle to brittle pieces. If you take pride in having a car, they will damage your car and put dents in it, scratch it. If it's convertible, they'll cut the hood. They will link everything to your radio in your car as well. Like with me, I made sure the radio doesn't work. But I've now got a different radio, and they've linked everything to the Bluetooth in that radio system. And basically, they just make all sorts of alterations to appliances. I've already given you evidence of this, the computers. And I believe also your phones. If you're a targeted individual, your phone will be slightly modified, whether it's hardware or software, can vary. So the other thing I've noticed is they will come in and they will leave things for you to find. So in my case, scissors always disappear, lighters, and screwdrivers. Certain screwdrivers disappear. They do certain things, for me anyway. And then they reappear. Nail clippers. I bought a whole bunch of nail clippers. You can't buy them in the chemist. But I had loads of nail clippers and they all disappeared. So I had like 2 pairs left. And then they swapped them around. So now those clippers have disappeared and I've got the other ones back. It's a bit of gaslighting as well. So I want to also explain, like in my case, they've gone beyond the normal measures of stalking. I manage some properties and they have fob entry systems for this one landlord. And I look after that and I have all the fobs. So the criminal activity extends far and wide. That's why I'm talking about it. So now all of the fob entry systems for this particular landlord don't work properly. And the other thing I found is I get tenants telling me that their fobs don't work anymore. And I'll go to check and they weren't the fob that I enrolled. So someone's swapping their fobs. Not only this, when I take the fob from them, the one that doesn't work, I get headaches and neck ache and backache and things like this with this fob around me. And what they also do is they will come in and put these faulty fobs around my home. I have a cupboard where I lock my fobs away because I knew they were doing it. But obviously no one will help me, so I just had to try my hardest to keep them away from it. So I lock them in a cupboard, and they've still got into the cupboard. But there's the ones where I've locked them in a box as well. Ones I have my hands on regularly, and they haven't messed with those as much. But now I can't enroll new fobs, and we're having problems with all of the fob entries for all of the properties. And I know this is related because as soon as I get a message from somebody saying, oh, my fob's not working, and I go over and sort a fob out for them, suddenly I have problems with that area where I keep the fobs. And it's got to the point where I'm actually going to have to shield the area where I keep the fob entry systems, because these, if there's a fob, the faulty fob, if I find a faulty fob, I'll find it. For example, I've just found a faulty fob, and it's with locks that I keep, and little padlocks, combination padlocks as well, and keys. And then I found whenever I had my keys, or anywhere with locks, anything with a lock or to do with locks, suddenly I got a sore bum. So I started shielding, I know it sounds weird, against door locks. And then I stopped getting a sore bum, and I thought, well, it's got to be connected to something, and I finally figured it out today. So, but don't forget what I was saying. What they've done outside is they've put in a new wire on the outside of my property, which they covered with, on the wall. They've dug a hole, put a wire in, and then they've cemented over, and they haven't even tried to conceal that they've done it. So this is how confident and bombastic they are about the activities. Because once they know the police won't help you, the gloves are off, and they just will not leave you alone. That's why I talk about this on God FM, because the victims of it feel intimidated. because they can't conduct their lives. I also did a video yesterday of what happens when they switch on the laser light. It causes all electrical items to go berserk in the house. And I had this on another light as well, and I have a witness to that. And it stopped on that light, but now it started on another light. So it is my belief that they point a laser to a designated area that they have allocated to be a sort of type of receptor, using things like fob entries and so on. Now, fob entry, I want to explain a little bit about the technical on the fob entry systems. They operate through a SIM card and the mobile phone masts. So you can phone and the fob, the door will open for you. As well as you can have fobs as well. So they link everything to the telephone masts, and they hijack all of the victims of targeting. They hijack all the numbers. And it's my belief that they've hijacked all of the numbers for the fob entry system for the company. This is for my company. But not just mine, another party's company. So the ramifications of the hacking and stalking are very far and wide, in my opinion, right? So I've also noticed that it's happening to people that I know. So, because the same crowd, when they're doing this, and they identify there's someone else that's happy, looks quite happy, nice person, will destroy them too, you see. So, this is the ramifications of being a targeted individual, is that people that you come into contact with, they will target them too. And this includes, but is not limited to, people who are residents of any of the properties around where you live or in association with. So, for example, when you're a targeted individual, I've told you about the drains that they dig. So they dig the drains through the soil pipes. And they do this in a coordinated fashion around your house, in the gardens of the neighboring properties. And this I identified not just with myself at this property, but also at my previous property and other properties where I've lived. Although they didn't torture me up until 2023. But they've obviously been following me all my life. So, all the other targeted individuals talk about the same. It doesn't sound suspicious, you see, when a targeted individual says to someone else that they're digging the drains next door, or they're clamoring around and hammering. Doesn't sound suspicious, you know. But it is when you know that devices are being set in place around your home so that they can triangulate where you are, what you're doing, and also Pegasus and Stingray is installed around your home so that a coordinated attack takes place against the victim. What happens, you see, is the victim can no longer use their phone. They can't use any device because even if they buy a new phone and get a new number, like I've done, they will hijack that number and they'll hijack the new device and link it to their little network which they've dug up. And the toilet pipes is very important. Without the toilet pipe, they really have problems. The toilet, I have actually, I've told you about some of the things I've had with the toilet. My toilet always blocks up. And even if there's nothing inside the toilet. So whenever I use the toilet and I flush it, I make sure that I flush it 3 or 4 times so there's nothing left in the soil pipe. But the other day, I went to flush the toilet and it wouldn't flush. And I didn't have the pump thing because I've had some renovations done. So I just got my hands and I put them down to try and clear whatever's in the way. I'm not frightened of poo anyway, you know. Put my hands down there and there was some stuff in there. Quite hard, almost rubbery, that I got my hands on. And I believe something was put in the soil pipe or crawls up my soil pipe from this. And I always know when there's something wrong with the toilet because I get neck ache, backache, bum ache, and all sorts of things happen and the lights start going funny. And sure enough, if I go to flush the toilet, it's always blocked. Like there's something sitting in the soil pipe. And I've got one of those soil pipes that goes down into a little curl and then up and then over into a curl and then down and then into a bend, another bend, and then round a corner. And then down to the drainage area. Now I get problems around the drains. I believe that they put something in the drains to gas the victims of this crime. So what I've found, and they also use the guttering. Don't know how they get to the guttering. Maybe it is the seagulls, which I don't know if they're real. I don't know if these are fake seagulls. But I've noticed that I can see the stuff and I can hear it. And it's very active around the soil pipes and the drainage areas, not just at my home, but outside as well. And I get the same from the lights, the same light frequencies. And if you want to be able to see this stuff, what you do is you close your eyes. And if you can see like a red in your eyes, then you know that that's a radiation point. Okay? You don't really need a tester because your body's a good receptor and detector for you anyway. Okay? I can actually detect this stuff. I don't need a detector. I, for some reason, can pick it up where it's coming from. I can go, oh, there's something going on under me. Then I'll feel the wall. And I'll go, no, it's not that. It's over there. I'll go further up the wall and I'll go, ah, there it is. And then I'll know. And then I'll go, what's up there? And I go, oh, yes, there's a plug socket upstairs. They must have connected something. I also have electric testers. And what I always do as well is I switch off my electricity to try and minimize this. Since my cooker has caught fire and my lights do these funny things, I actually feel in danger. My old house, the electric box caught fire, and the electrician who came over to try and fix the electrics, he told me that he couldn't fix it. And he said to me, I have to tell you that you must leave this property because it is so unsafe that you are so lucky to be alive. And so I left that property the next day. All right? So the levels of activities that these people go to in the extremes do not include your care or safety, unfortunately. Again, because the police have turned a blind eye to the victims, and my concern is for the safety, actually, of me, but also for the other victims of this crime, because it is unsafe. For example, I get my electric tester out, and I've got live electricity going on behind my electric box. And you might find that if you're a targeted individual, get an electric tester, switch off your electricity, and see if there is electricity coming from behind the box, if it's still live, because I've still got live electricity running, even if my electricity's off, right? So what they tend to do is they feed in to your property live wires from a neighboring property so that they can activate and switch on things. The reason they do this is multifaceted. One is so that they can take over your home network. Your electricity is a network, by the way. All right. So when you use a Wi-Fi extender, you plug in one extender and then you plug it another one into another plug. And this makes it as safe as if you were connected directly to the router, hardwired. It extends your Wi-Fi and it's safe, supposedly. But it isn't safe because somebody else has joined your wiring, the loop, for that circuit, for any circuit, to their own electricity. And then they have connected a router and their own Wi-Fi extenders through the lights, through the fire alarms, and through all the plug sockets. And at will, what they can do is they can press a button and they can have it so that all of the lights and all of the plug sockets radiate you very heavily. Now, electricity is invisible, and if you put your fingers in a plug socket, you'll electrocute yourself. But the currents coming out of my electric switches is far too high and far too unsafe. All of this I have evidenced and I've logged and I've shown you. I've also got appliances that don't switch off when I unplug them. And this is also why I think that they're using a wireless electricity, which I've told you about. When you charge your phone, you can charge your phone on a wireless charger, right? No wires. Great, isn't it? So if it was rigged up correctly under your home could become a wireless electricity receptor and deliverer of whatever currents they want to deliver. For example, a lot of the victims in the targeting tell me that their lights flash on and off, and it is my belief that the LED light bulbs operate on the same frequencies and wavelengths as the 5G, and also the network that I'm talking about, this other network that I've talked about before, which sits next to yours. And it also connects with Bluetooth, and it intercepts radio frequencies so that, for example, in my home, I have real problems getting radios to work or TVs because they've hijacked the signals for the property. So if you go to the supermarket and you want to make a phone call, they can switch off the ability to make a phone call at will with a machine. Okay. And so if you're a targeted individual, they also have machines around your home so that they can disconnect your Wi-Fi, and your Wi-Fi suddenly isn't there. But the Wi-Fi that you're connected to is a duplicate the 192.168.1.1 or 0.1 is not really your Wi-Fi. It's a duplicate 192 because I've told you about the electrical circuit that they've already connected to. And when you connect to your router, you normally would do that through the 192.168. And I've actually proved this also by connecting a different router to my internet, and it still showed up as the other router, as the 192.168.1.1. But also through Wireshark, I've also proved that there's two 192s, 168s. But this is how they do the 192.168. Because the 192.168 is a standard for logging into your router. Okay? So, if I go next door and I log into their router and I use their Wi-Fi, their router will be on 192.168. So everybody's house is on 192.168. So there's nothing to distinguish the 192.168.1.1 or 0.1 from one property to the other. Okay? It's a templated number for each property. So if somebody connected another network to your home, you wouldn't know about it because it would still land on 192.168.1.1 or 0.1. This is how they do it. All right? Just to give you an idea. Now, you can download an app. It's wonderful it is, with all the technology. And this app will give you control of turning your lights on and off. You can put them on a timer through your router, through your network, using light bulbs. LEDs can also be controlled through this and the fire alarms, as well as plug sockets, appliances, and you can also control the smart meters through doing all of this online, you see. So if somebody was to take over your network or to hijack your network and create a secondary network, then they would be able to control everything in your home, wouldn't they, eh? And so this is why it's incredibly dangerous, this operation. As I've already shown you, my cooker caught fire, and I've also had plug sockets explode with, I've got an insect repellent plug-in, which has a little light. And when I plug it in, normally I find the radiation stops a bit, so I like them. And I've also got the electricity cost reducers. They call it like electric cleaner plugs, and I put those on, and they also help me. So this insect repellent plug, I plugged it in, and it wasn't switched on. And I was sitting here, this was last week, and it was making a funny buzzing noise, but it wasn't switched on. I thought, well, I'll leave it on. Because it's not plugged in, I'm going to see what happens. Well, anyway, sure enough, I mean, I'm talking about the plug sockets where you've actually got two switches for the plugs. One's for on and one's for off, right? This was definitely off. Because I heard the noise, I checked it. And then the thing exploded. And all the electricity went off. I thought, oh my gosh, that's funny. And now, when I run one of these sound vibration things, it trips the electricity sometimes. Now, I want to tell you also that the one that exploded is a different design and from a different manufacturer, right? And I purchased it from a different place. So there's no reason for, you could say, oh, it's a faulty batch, right? But that proves also that it's not a faulty batch. All right. So there's just so many things that I found. When they're on the network, they make it so that my Apple TV box will give me headaches and bum-ache. And I can prove this also because if I turn it, I don't have bum-ache and neck-ache anymore. I basically got to shield myself from my Apple TV box, which is just a bit bigger than a cigarette box. And I've also got to shield the TV if they get into that. Now, I have a TV that, unfortunately, it emits its name so that everyone around can see the TV through Bluetooth. And you can't switch this off. So, I think, again, because Bluetooth is used to hack everything, they get in through that. And I also want to tell you that the remote controls for my TV and for the Apple box also cause problems for me. So after I'm finished with the TV and everything, I switch it all off and reset the TV, right? Then the Apple TV, I disconnect it from the Wi-Fi and I put it into a radiation box, anti-radiation box. And this time, last week, I had left the remote controls in the lounge. I'd forgotten to put them away. And I got terrible headaches and bum-ache and neck-ache from the controllers. I noticed that it was from this area downstairs. And I felt the wall, and it was coming from this area. And I came down to look, and I realized that the remote controls were there. So I took out the batteries, and I put the remote controls into the radiation bag. As well as the Apple box, which I put in the radiation bag. And now my bum-ache, neck-ache, bum-ache, and all the other stuff stopped. And I thought, oh, wow. So it must be the controllers as well. So this is what I found. It may be useful information for other victims of this crime. That if you've got certain things like your car keys, you can't have those without having them in a radiation bag. And your credit cards and things need to be in a radiation protective cover. Your phone also, you need to wrap it up in tinfoil when you're not using it, because your phone has become a radiation equipment, a weapon, and every appliance has become a weapon. The other thing I've noticed is definitely coordinated is that I can get this stuff off sometimes and then I think, oh, this is so nice. I basically can't run my boiler without them connecting to it. And the reason for this is because it's right by the fob entry system to the property and the gas meter. And I always hear people coming in and out. And I don't know how they're doing it, but I reckon because they've taken over the fob entry system. And I know that the owner of the property has had problems enrolling people because I believe somebody has hijacked it. But again, it's so unbelievable. So I believe that people mess with the boiler, and gas has a liquid, and then they put nano inside the liquid. And they do something with the frequencies within the gas. They also take over telephones, plug-in phones, and also door entry phones. The one I had before just stopped working, and pretty much no one's worked where I am now. And it seems to be across all the properties I look after. And I know this isn't a coincidence, and I feel guilty for it as well. Because I know that this is caused by the people doing this to me. they're not really bothered about people's safety. What they're bothered about is making sure that I am radiated and everything's coordinated. And by putting it through the fob entry systems, they can coordinate it with other residents of other properties, because they will hire people to come and live in properties who work on this for their job. And there are professional gang stalkers, right? And I want to also talk about that. They recruit for them online, and they're described as in sort of type of inspectors, right? And they're agents, well-being agents, neighborhood watch agents, whatever. And they are hired full-time with a list of targets in the area to keep an eye on. So they'll get every day a list of what they are to do. They have weekly meetings. And this is a professional organization, if you like. It's like a professional company. And all of the people who work for this company are rewarded for tormenting and hacking and taking over victims' lives and phones and devices. As you know, I took apart my computer, and I was watching a video on TikTok about it. There's a professional hacker there, and he says, I can show you how to hack anyone's phone. All you need to do is connect up to their computer. He said, if you haven't got a computer, then you've got a problem. I thought, actually, I think I'm going to get rid of my computer. That's what I did. So you may want to do the same. Now, if you're a victim of this, they can also use visitors' computers or other residents of your home computers. All right, so I want to talk about that too. So at my old house, they would get onto the home network through the student computer. When this started, I knew that something was going on, and they were breaking in to get physical access to the router, which I'd locked into a cupboard. And I kept finding the cupboard door unlocked, right? So I would swap the routers around. And what I discovered is they intercept the wiring, so they put a device on the telephone wiring. But also, this is how they take over everything, with the extra wiring that comes with the telephone lines. But also, my student, suddenly his computer wasn't working, so he took it to a computer guy. And as soon as he came back, the internet had been fine, completely safe. And then as soon as his computer arrived at the house, everything was being hacked. And I had to put him on a different network. So that was where I had the ability to put him on as a guest. And that way I could protect myself. So again, he had a computer that was now being used to monitor, track, follow, stalk, and hack, and take over all of my devices. Because they don't need very much. I mean, I've already told you about the student. It was a Chinese student, and he lost his keys. And I was shown by the Lord a hand going in the back of his rucksack and the keys being taken. He didn't lose his keys. Somebody took his keys out of his rucksack so they could get entry into my home. But because I had cameras outside, they didn't come in the house. What they did is they sent an ex-boyfriend in so that they could work out the laydown and the layout of the property. and then take over everything and then set everything up, right? I already told you that a lot of the men, boyfriends I've had, have all partaken in this. I'm not imagining it, right? And some of these are professionals, they're warlocks. This is part of witchcraft and Satanism, after all. This is against the children of God. And this really is a war. And they will hunt down Christians and truth speakers to annihilate that person's life, to humiliate them. And it's like an entertainment show, you know. It is like the Hunger Games. And once they've taken over someone's life, once they've moved in, as I say, the first starts with your phone doesn't work very well. You're having problems. You can't make calls on WhatsApp. Your phone keeps dropping. You get funny noises on your phone. People say they contacted you, but you've not got the messages. And they do this by sending people over, befriend you on WhatsApp, and then they send you an image. And this is how it happened to me. They send you an image on WhatsApp, and then the image rewrites your phone because it's kept in a separate department on the iPhone, which operates the main software of the device and can completely take over the device. I've already talked about this at length. And then they rewrite the phone to completely take over. And this is Stingray, Pegasus. There's lots of them. And once you've clicked the link, you don't even need to click the image. You don't need to download the image. The technology now exists so they can make just a phone call. So if they really want to do this, you know, they're going to do this. And there's nothing you can do to stop them. And this is why I wish I was never born, and I hope God takes me out of here, because I don't want to be here anymore. I just don't. I don't see the point. Because I can't stop people from doing this. This is a professional organization. It's a terrorist group. And I was thinking about it. This is quite possibly a group, if you think of it like another country, that has intercepted and taken over the operations of not just England, but of every country in the world, using this professional gang stalking operation that they have. First, they get into the governments and the schools. They get the children to participate in this as well, and I've got evidence of that too. So they will, if they got a target on the list, they will also hire little children who are friends with the target's child to have the child raped by a 45-year-old man at a party, get her completely drugged up. They'll send in boyfriends to get your child completely hooked on drugs. If you go on holiday, they'll arrange for your daughter to be raped on holiday, because they can see everything you're doing on social media. And the gloves are off, because this is a professional criminal organization and the police are below them on the financial ranking of importance. So the police turn a blind eye when they hear certain names. They just turn a blind eye, even if the victim has evidence and they've been sexually molested like I was. They will just turn a blind eye. Like if the police come over and you've got evidence that someone is doing this to your phone, the police won't do anything because you're a commodity and they've put you on the dark web. And this is for entertainment. This is a professional criminal organization. And their activities include eating children. drinking children's blood, buying and selling of organs, and beef jerky, which isn't beef jerky, right? A lot of these people run the beef jerky companies. You might want to check that out. Beef jerky is their favorite thing to make for each other. I wonder, when I look at the beef jerky in the shops, is that beef jerky or is it people jerky? What jerky is it? Because the criminals are running everything and their payroll is higher than the people who are here to uphold the law. So, I'm sorry if I frighten you, but it's important that I talk about this because I'm hoping that somebody who has a little bit of power will look at this and listen to this and think, I think we need to do something about it. These are the same people who will pick up your children, farm your children. There are human farms, you should know this also. Under every town are tunnels. And under every town there is also little ships, right, by the harbors. Okay? And they use the underwater ships to pick up the victims. The tunnels go so deep, okay, they connect to the ocean underneath. You should know this. There's tunnels under the oceans. That's why when you look at the maps, you can see the crisscrosses, right, under the sea, because they've got extremely advanced technology that runs under the cities where we live. And this is to transport its victims to the human farms. And this is run by the hotel industry and the bed and breakfasts, as well as the private ones where you can go to Airbnb, right? Be careful staying at an Airbnb, because in Turkey, this is run by people who own Airbnbs. And I'm not joking, this is the truth. And if they put cameras up and things and listening to advices, and they got into my phones and completely ruined my life and took it over, because they've got so much power, then anyone they identify as interesting, they can do the same at their holiday lets, right? Because I'm worried. Okay, because this is a growing crime. They have to get rid of their money somehow. And so this is the way they do that. They buy holiday apartments. They will also buy multi-blocks of flats and things, but mostly holiday lets, and they rig it up the same. It is like a house of horrors where you're being watched when you go on holiday. Not just for where I live, but everywhere. You need to be careful. Okay. Some years ago, I was approached by someone who was interested in obtaining people's information for unsavory purposes. And they didn't know I believed in God. And I wasn't really sure what they were asking, but it came to me that finally I'm a bit dumb, that this was a fraudulent activity that this person wanted to conduct. And I said, absolutely not. But so I also know there are people that will approach people who have information, data on people for their information, because this is a data list that is growing, right? This is why victims and their families are dragged into this, right? And I'm not making this stuff up, right? They swap children around when they're born. They do all sorts of awful things. The stuff that they do to me is intended to make me disabled. Because when I can't get the stuff off, I have terrible backache. I can't walk the next day. So this is intended to make me disabled, right? There's one that does my knee as well. I can't walk on my knee. If they've done that one, I have to limp the next day. So I know that the effects of the stuff they're running is very severe. And so if it's running, I try not to sleep. I avoid sleeping. Obviously, they like that because they want you to be so tired. Because a person who does not get any sleep becomes unhinged. But I serve the Lord, Most High God, and I have put things on hold just so I can gather my thoughts and rethink my next steps, because I can't sustain this level of attack indefinitely. I'm a human being at the end of the day, and I'm tired and not well because of it. And it's basically formed a construct in my mind where it takes occupancy, and it is the main part of my mind at the moment. It's very hard to think about anything else when you're being tortured every day and you have home invasions all the time. And these people urinate and poo and wee around your home because this is part of a satanic ritual. And like I say, they will get the children to partake in it. So, and they also torture children as well. And they do this electronically. They rape their victims electronically and cook the private vaginas and willies and bums. And also they boil your feet as well. And they put something in the water so that this nano goes around your body and they can control the nano inside you. Right? So this is like the stuff of horror films. It really is awful. They also do a funny dust, which I have had, and it causes me to have blisters. And they're really itchy. And when I pluck those, I've got little worms. So it's almost like I'm allergic to it or something. But I want you to have an idea that if every victim of this has their neighbors partake in it, then anybody's going to be got to, and the level of crime is so extensive that there's more criminals now in England, for example, than there are good people. I think we're in the time where Sodom and Gomorrah, where Abraham said, if there's 10 good people, Lord, will you destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? And the Lord said no. Well, I would say I don't know if there's even 10 good people in the world, let alone in England. I don't know. It's small numbers, that's for sure. And anybody I talk with always send me links and images, and then my phone gets hot and gets taken over. So I basically don't communicate with anyone now on my device, unless I'm doing a live show. And you can talk to me on a live show from now on. That's what I've decided. But it's very hard to fight this when you are sleep deprived. The last few days, I've not been able to sleep at night. And I've had to sleep all day. As soon as I open the window, this stuff starts. So I know it's in the air. They're blowing it in my house. Again, the gloves are off. There are lights pointed at my home from Union Square and also Bettersworth and Hogs Head. And they're all coordinated. So they've got to go, hey, speak to the neighbours, switch on your washing machine, switch on your light. And I notice the lights have a different level of brightness when this stuff is on. So at the level of 10%, it is normally on. When this stuff is on, it's 100%. Much brighter. And so when the lights are on, that they put on, it's like daytime outside at night. And I can actually see the light beaming at my home. And you know, normally there's a shadow in daytime, isn't there, right? From a light, from the sky. So if you stand, you can see your shadow. Well, my window ledge has a shadow. When this stuff is on, it has a shadow at night. So I know that this stuff is operating. They can also operate something that isn't bright lights, but is also bad. And this is using radio frequencies. And like I said, the insect repellent sounds that you can get, the plugins, they really help me. And so do the electric saver plugs, as they electric cleaners, I think they're called, electric plug cleaners. And they clean the circuit, and they help me as well. I've also made the V2K machine, and that helps me too. If you're interested, I can make one for you. But the levels of crime are high, and there's very little hope. If this is what's going to happen, then I've pretty much written off my life, and I seek the Lord's help, because I obviously am only one person. And this is happening to a lot of people now. So we've got to tell our stories. And if you are a victim, I'd like to interview you on God FM so that we can tell the others that you're not alone. And your story will help others, but it will mostly help endorse the other victims' stories and validate our claims that this is really happening and we're not imagining it. The more of us that talk about this, the better. People have said, oh, you need to stop talking about it. No, I'm never going to stop talking about it. Because my life's changed. I don't look at the world the same. If my neighbors can do this to me, no thanks. I'll wait for justice from the Lord if necessary, and I don't know how long I'll be waiting for that, but I need to get myself in a position where I'm in a stronger position mentally, and then I shall be ready to kick ass. And when I kick ass, you'll know about it. Okay, and that's obviously why they've come for me as well. Because I'm quite a force to be reckoned with when I'm functioning and not being tortured and hacked and stalked. I'm not frightened of anyone. And I have the Lord with me. So I'm praying the Lord will do something about this so that I'll have the full authority and power and capacity to be operating on full capacity again, so that I can at least be someone who is able to try and stop this. All right. It's Aisha from God FM. If you want to find me, you can find me on Podbean, Spotify, Amazon, Samsung, Chrome, YouTube, Apple, X, as well as TikTok and Telegram as God FM News, God FM New, God FM Radio, God FM Group, and God FM Media. By the way, church bells is a sign they use, as well as alarms on buildings and car alarms and also fireworks when they've lost their connection to your property. Okay. You might want to note that down as well, okay? And fire alarms is another one. All right. Take care, everyone. Love you lots. Bye.